As you can see on the graphic, I've got the div in the position that I want. And I can just simply get rid of that content. And now you can see I've got a frame around that area, which is going to be my hotspot, and that's what I want. So with that done, I'm going to select it, and now we're going to attach the tooltip. And once it's selected, you recall, just as we did when we were working with the area in the image maps, we can only really do this in code. So with it selected, I'm going to switch to code view. And because I had it selected when it was in design view, it remained selected in code view, and we're going to do what we did before. But remember that this time we're attaching it to a div rather than to an area on an image map. So I'm going to come down to Spry, and I'm going to select Spry Tooltip. And this is where the Spry Tooltip goes, and I might as well just make the change about the content that I want to be displayed when I mouse over it. Now, you can again add whatever other information you want. For the moment, let's simply just let that go. And I'm going to save it. Now, because I've been working in Spry, we're using Spry on this particular site, I didn't get a message. But if this were the first time, just as you're used to, Dreamweaver would say that it has to save a couple of files for all this to work. And those are the ones up here, the Spry Tooltips JS file and the Spry Tooltip CSS file. But as I say, I've already saved them. Dreamweaver has created the Spry Assets folder and put them in there. So with that saved, let's now take a look at what it looks like in a browser. And you can see I have something there, a hotspot there, and I can continue to do this. I roll over and you can see the content. Well, I'm just going to add a couple more in exactly the same way. Show you one more and then we'll go back. So let's go back here. Go back to design view and let's do the second one, the second of these divs. And we're going to do exactly as we did last time. We're going to select that div. We're going to create a new rule for it. Make it less specific because library is the only name like that in the whole page. And we'll start off by giving it a border. We'll do exactly as we did before. We're going to make it solid, medium, and red. And then we're going to come down to the positioning category, and we're going to make sure that we've set it to relative. We're setting its width, just like our first example, to 100 pixels wide by 50 pixels high. And again, we're going to position this with our eyes. So this is the library area right here. And I'm going to again set a minus value. So I'm going to start off with 450. I don't know if that's going to be right. Not too bad. And I'm going to set the left value to 500 pixels. And that's probably too far. In fact, it's definitely too far. So I'm going to bring this y-axis placement, the top axis, to about 400. Yeah, I won't spend too much time here. And close enough. And I'll click OK and get rid of this content. So now I've got my second div that's going to act as my hotspot. And as before, I'm going to select it. I'm going to go to Code View. It's already been selected for me in Code View. And I'm going to insert my second Spry tooltip. And Dreamweaver adds it. And I'll make an edit. If I can spell the word library properly. Save everything. And away we go. So now I have a second tooltip, and as I mouse over both of them, the tooltip content changes. Now, of course, you can easily edit the style sheet for the tooltip content, give it padding and whatever else you want to do. And we're going to add one more, and since you've already seen me do it, I'll join you when I've already added the third. So we're back, and I've added my third div to act as my hotspot and inserted a tooltip using that as I did in the first two. And as you can see, I've placed the third one over roughly where CoreNet is. And if we look at this in our browser, you can see that all those tooltips are working as advertised. So far, you could easily argue that it doesn't really look much different from what we've seen before, just using the image map. But here's where we're going to make some interesting changes that I think are going to make it all much more friendly for our readers. We're not going to put this next piece of business in the content frame. That is the same frame where our images are, because that could possibly interfere with what we're doing there. But over here, in a reasonably visible place, we're going to put in a couple of commands. And one of them is to hide, and the other is to show. And the logic here is what we're going to do when the user clicks on the hide link, all the hotspots will disappear. And when the user clicks on the show link, the hotspots will be displayed. So that will give our user the option of getting more detail when it's needed or not. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start off by selecting the word hide. By the way, you could use a button, anything at all. I'm just using a link to make things easier. And we're going to put in this word, JavaScript : semicolon. And you'll remember we've done this before when we talked about behaviors. And that's just a dummy link. And as soon as I hit return, you can see that that word hide is in fact highlighted and it's a link. Well, we're going to open the behavior window right now, and we're going to add a behavior to this particular link. So we've done this before when we open new browser windows. I'm going to click down here, and I'm going to come down to the Show Hide Elements choice. And when I leave go, you'll see a little dialog pop up, and you can see that the three of the divs, and a few more by the way, that I've created are displayed. So I'm going to select each one, and I'm going to click the hide button. So I'm going to do that with Clerihew, I'm going to do that with Library, and I'm going to do that with CoreNet. So as we go back up this little dialog, which is not the easiest thing to work with, you can see that the div Clerihew and the div Library and the div CoreNet all have the word hide in parentheses, and that means that link will cause them to be disappeared. Click OK. You can see that what we've got here is a behavior that says on click, that is when the user clicks this link, that's the event, those elements are going to be either shown or hid. Since we set it to hide, they will be hidden. So I'm going to save my page, and I'm going to look at it in the browser. And as we would expect, everything's there. And if we click hide, they disappear. And not only do they disappear, but they're no longer even available. So a person accidentally mousing over this stuff would inadvertently cause something to happen that would be confusing to them or obtrusive in any way. Now, we would now like to bring them back again under the user's control. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to highlight that word show, turn it into a special kind of a link, and I'm going to enter the word JavaScript, just followed by a colon and a semicolon, just as we did before. And I'm going to add a behavior. I'm going to attach a behavior to that link. And we get the same kind of a thing as we saw before, only this time I want to show rather than hide each one of my divs. So I'll do that. And this says on click, show hide elements, just as we did before, except this time it's set to show them. So I'm going to save my page, and when I preview this in my browser, not only can I make them hide, but I can bring them back. And when I bring them back, the tooltip are available. So what we've done here visually looks very similar to what we've been doing, what we did the first time with the graphic. That is, it's indicating what is hot and what is not. But we've also given our end user more control to hide or to show what is hot as the user wishes. So this gives us a very flexible and much more user-friendly, to use that overused term, experience than was heretofore possible.